Most people never really leave their minds. They wake up inside thought, move through the day inside thought, react inside thought, and fall asleep still wrapped in the same inner noise. Words keep running, labels keep forming, explanations keep piling up, and after a while it all starts to feel normal, familiar even. But normal doesn't always mean real. A map can help you travel, sure, but nobody confuses the map with the forest unless they've forgotten what trees feel like. In the same way, your mind gives you symbols, names, descriptions, opinions, memories, plans, useful things, necessary things in many ways. But there comes a point where all those symbols start standing between you and life itself, and you don't notice the distance until you finally become still. Something strange happens when you leave your mind once a day. Not forever, not dramatically, just for a moment, just long enough to stop narrating your existence, long enough to stop reducing life to language. In that silence, you begin to notice how much of your suffering was never coming from reality itself, but from the constant commentary about reality. A feeling appears, and the mind immediately names it. A sound enters the room, and thought rushes to identify it. A moment of uncertainty shows up, and the mind turns it into a story about who you are, what's wrong, and what needs to happen next. Leaving your mind, even briefly, breaks that spell. You begin to see that life is happening before the labels arrive. And that's where the real shift begins, because once you stop clinging so tightly to the voice in your head, you start sensing something deeper than thought and older than identity. Something steady, something unhurried, not a concept, not a philosophy, more like direct contact with what is here before you explain it. You could call it presence, but even that word is only pointing. What matters is the experience, a quiet return, a soft undoing, almost like stepping out of a crowded room and realizing the wind has been waiting for you the whole time. For many people, inner silence doesn't feel peaceful in the beginning. It feels awkward, maybe even threatening. And honestly, that makes sense. When a person has spent years listening to the non-stop chatter in the skull, silence can feel less like freedom and more like losing control. Thought likes to stay busy because busyness creates the illusion of safety. Keep naming, keep judging, keep planning, keep rehearsing, keep remembering, keep the machinery running. Otherwise, who are you? Otherwise, what's holding everything together? Yet once you look closely, a hard truth starts to come into view. Constant thinking doesn't necessarily mean you're connected to life. Sometimes it means you're hiding from it. Meditation, or simple inner stillness, begins with something almost embarrassingly ordinary. Listening, just listening, not mastering the universe, not achieving enlightenment by lunchtime, just hearing what's already here. A cough in the room, a car outside, a bird near the window, the hum of distant movement, a voice, your own thoughts too. Because those thoughts you take so personally are often just more sound, more activity, more weather passing through awareness. Once you stop treating every thought like a message carved in stone, it begins to lose its tyranny. A thought can be heard the same way rain is heard. Present, yes. Absolute, no. That's when another boundary starts to soften. The one between what's happening out there and what's happening in here. Usually the mind insists on dividing life into neat categories. Outside world, inside world, me, not me, what I'm doing, what is being done to me. But direct awareness doesn't divide so aggressively. Sound happens, breath happens, thought happens, sensation happens. One unfolding, many textures, 1,000 waves, one ocean. You begin to notice that the separation you've defended for so long may not be as solid as it once seemed. Maybe it was never solid at all. Maybe it was just useful for getting through the day, but never meant to become your prison. And once that begins to register, something relaxes at the center of your being. Not because all questions are answered, but because the need to force life into neat mental boxes starts fading. You don't have to figure out every mystery to feel whole again. You don't have to solve existence before sunset. A quieter kind of intelligence starts waking up, the kind that doesn't shout, the kind that knows how to sit, how to listen, how to let a moment be exactly what it is without trying to turn it into a conclusion. Strange as it sounds, leaving your mind once a day doesn't make you less aware. It makes you aware for the first time in a deeper way. Then breath enters the picture, and everything gets even more interesting. Breathing sits in a place unlike almost anything else in your experience. You can control it, but you don't have to. You can influence it, but it also goes on without your permission. One moment it feels voluntary, the next it feels completely given. And in that little mystery, breath starts teaching something the thinking mind struggles to understand. Life isn't neatly split between what you do and what happens to you. Those categories feel solid until you stay with the breath long enough to watch them blur. At first, you may notice how quickly the mind wants to interfere. It wants to improve the breath, manage it, optimize it, make it spiritual, make it impressive. But the deeper invitation is gentler than that. Let the breath move the way it wants. Let it fall out instead of pushing it out. Let it return instead of dragging it back in. Slowly, almost on its own, it begins to deepen. The exhale softens like sinking into a bed after a long day. The inhale returns like a tide rolling back to shore without strain. No force, no performance, just trust, just rhythm, just a body remembering that it already knows how to be alive without being supervised every second. Stay there long enough, and a quiet revelation begins to rise. You start seeing that your experience is not split into separate departments the way the mind once claimed. Breathing is happening, and somehow you are part of that happening without standing apart from it. Hearing is happening, and somehow you are not separate from what is heard. Even perception itself becomes mysterious in the best way. Your eyes turn light into sight. Your ears turn vibration into sound. Your skin turns invisible movement into warmth and contact. In a very real sense, the world you think is merely arriving from the outside is also being brought forth through your participation in it. Life is not just visiting you, life is occurring as you. A lot of fear can dissolve in that realization, because one of the mind's deepest habits is insisting you are either helpless or totally burdened, either a puppet or a controller. But direct awareness reveals something richer than both extremes. You are not just being dragged through existence, and you are not a separate little manager running the cosmos from behind your forehead. You are part of one vast happening, one movement, one living process with no sharp edge where you end and life begins. Once that's felt, even for a few seconds, loneliness changes shape, pressure changes shape, identity changes shape. You stop feeling like an isolated object trying to survive in a foreign universe and start sensing that you belong to what is unfolding because you are woven into it. After silence and breath begin opening the door, sound can take you even further. Not meaning, not explanation, just sound itself. A bell, a gong, a chant, a simple tone carried on a slow breath. Something powerful happens when sound is no longer treated as a message to decode, but as an experience to enter. Usually the mind grabs sound and asks, "What is it? Where is it coming from? What does it mean?" Yet when you stop asking those questions for a while and simply let sound fill awareness, the mind loses one more place to hide. No analysis, no chase, just resonance. That's why repeated sound has helped people enter deep states of stillness for so long. Not because the syllables are magic in some theatrical sense, but because tone can gather scattered attention into one stream. When a sound stretches from the back of the throat to the lips, when it vibrates through the chest and skull, when it rides the breath instead of fighting it, thought starts loosening its grip. Words stop acting like little hooks. Meaning begins to fall away. Before long, you're no longer standing outside the sound as its observer. You're inside it. Or maybe more accurately, the divide between listener and sound starts fading, and what remains is only the experience itself. And that's one of the deepest answers to the question this whole video has been moving toward. What happens when you leave your mind once a day? You return to the living moment before it gets divided into categories. Past loosens, future goes quiet. The constant project of becoming someone begins to rest. For a little while, you are no longer trapped in the endless effort to get somewhere else. Music offers a clue here. Nobody listens to a beautiful piece only to rush to the final note. Dancing offers another clue. Nobody dances just to arrive at one spot on the floor. The point is in the movement itself. Same with meditation, same with presence, same with being alive. Life is not waiting at the end of your thoughts. Life is here, in the direct experience of now.